So I'm happy to be here. So this is Italian Canadians at Table and a narrative feast in 5 courses. It is an amazing book. I'm so proud to be here. The food and the stories about food and migration and adapting to the Canadian soil and trying to create foods or vegetables from our Canadian soil and sort of mixing in and creating foods that have to do with a mixture that actually become their own Canadian essence. That, for example, there's something called Cliche in Italy, and they started growing it in Muskoka. And there's a story here about a family in the 60s who would do that, and it's just really interesting. And you can, even though there's not really recipes, you can really look at the creativity that was happening with food. So I'm just going to read. There's a section in here about wine, and like Heather was doing with the pumpkin, it's so appropriate for this time of year because all the Italian Canadians are making wine and then leaving out stuff for grappa. So I think this is perfect. So I'll start with this. Zuppolone. It is a foreign tongue that knows this image. A village of 4 centuries ago, eroded mountains connected to Alps, donkey wagons making passages, diverging clusters of peasants plowing fields, picking and counting their scores. Feudal land brawls and competitions with bouts of wine and bread, midday, every day. A large man walks among vineyards, apple orchards, olive groves, keeping a clay jug strapped on his back as it carries over 4 liters of cantina-made Molise wine. Zuppolone, he is called, the man that can drink more than anyone in the village, the one who takes his wine and bread loaf each morning, a jug of clay as large as a demijohn, now placed in my zio's taverna over 2 centuries later. Townsfolk locals name him the bread dipper, the landowner who dunks il pane, bread, as he devours his large soup, zuppa, of wine. He dips his bread into the wine and eats his hearty lunch, making salutations to God, il corpo, the anima, becoming Christ-like, elated as the sun bears down his back. A farmer envied who suckles at his loaves of bread dipped well into la zuppa di vino, a jug so large it surmounts his anima, making him a man of soul, one tenacious and esteemed. He becomes the family legacy, the identification of a bloodline, the clan of Zuppolone, 2, 3, then 6 generations on. I am the 7th granddaughter of Zuppolone from Collerbove, Torella del Sannio, Molise. We're a family of winos, even now, with cantinas brimming larger than most at our Civita hamlet, 3 miles from town. Across an ocean in Canada, we drink it like a succulent juice that makes our bones scarlet and keeps our spirits light. So Zuppolone actually won a bunch of land by drinking wine, a lot of wine. He had, basically there was more feudal times, or we're going back probably about 150 to almost 2 centuries ago. Basically in the village, they would make bets or they would do scores. If somebody owned the most land, they tended to live up on the hill and in the larger And so it is said and it is known that Zuppolone Di Placido and another guy by the name of Camaraderie basically had a bet out in the Piazza village, and whoever drank the most wine, and on this one special occasion, got to take over a certain number of acres of 2 plots of land, and he won. So that's how he became Zuppolone and became known. So that's how they refer to him in the village. I have another poem about wine, which is very different, but this is the White Wall Review through Ryerson, and it's just been published. Like this is the most recent issue, and I just picked it up at Word on the Street. And I have some poems in here, and this one is called Wine Tasting, and it's after Gertrude Stein and Tender Buttons. Wine that is wine, wine in carafe without appearance oxidizes, makes rings within glass, pouring in soft liquid, in warm liquid, pouring in taste of wine in transparent glass. Wine keeps tongue, tongue torn, torn tongue, a fresh tongue turning. Wine swigs in, goes in for wine top-up, simmering palate speaks, in ooze, in swilling, in throat, in tongue sop, tongue lush, in palate ripe with wine that wines. Glass swelling gives yellow, gives red, gives rosé, gives into discussion. Use color of wine to declare use of scent, use of inhale, of wine inhale, of head inhale, of head rush, of oak, of spice, of berry. Savor wine in glass, rounding swills, follow legs to tiny gulp, to esophagus, to aftertaste, to swoons, to form tremors of upward into skull. Wine of wine rushes in for further pour of wine, of gulch of wine, for a wine, oh, comes into doom and out of doom, as out of wine wonder sings. It was really fun to write that, and this is Exaltation in Cadmium Red, and in the theme of the paintings, I don't know if there were acrylic or there's been oils used, but the idea is that passion and art and various mediums of art is both toxic, as cadmium red has mercury and it's cadmium, and it's also, it can't be what it is without that toxicity and that wonderful plush oil color. Actually, I just came across an article, and right now in Europe, the ECA, I can't remember what it stands for, they're demanding that they take out the cadmium in the red, and they're trying to create this new, and I got really angry. I was like, this is, what are you doing? This is like, you know, they made this way for a reason, and even though it's healthier, quote unquote, people are saying that it's just not the same. It's the same quality of paint and what you get out of it, and it is difficult to work with. So, but that's also the beauty of it. So I can read you another version of Zuppolone. This is a little bit different, and I'll read this one that's in this book, and then I'll read some other poems. So this is Zuppolone. A village in eroded mountains connected to the Alps, donkey wagons making passage, peasants plowing fields, picking and counting their scores. Competitive bouts with wine and bread each day. A large man walks among the vineyards, apple orchards, olive groves, clay jug on his back, Molise wine. Zuppolone he's called, the man who can drink more than anyone else in the village, the one who takes his wine with bread each morning, a jug as large as a demijohn. He makes his salutations to God, suo corpo, Christ-like, becoming a legacy elated as the sun bears down his back. The clan of Zuppolone from Colle Bove Torella del Sannio Molise, a family of winos even now, with cantinas brimming over in the hamlet, miles from town. Across an ocean in Canada, we drink this nectar like a juice that makes our bones scarlet and keeps our spirits light. Just find it interesting how when you work with editors and how you can work on one poem and you can just make it all sorts of things. So I wanted to
that was
share
great.
Yeah. I'd like to read some newer work that's in the White Wall Review. I'm going to start with this particular poem, which again has to do with the theme of what is Italian Canadian or what is Canadian. Doe. I am learning to hide the hairs of this language by losing an other. I give you words in all of my skins, moistened, tanned, stained, stamped, leather, patent, or pleather. Suede, each one needed to still my style of perfection's needs. Unplastic, patented. You shall wear these, and then, afraid, friendless. Camaraderie. The quiet fleur-de-lis sprout a warning of the sovereign knot. My knotted francophone friend, bearing her necklace, its charm this weekend, 24th of June. Poison ivy hides among fern ghettos, over granite, over ore, shield shelved into rock, this greener ground, jewels of silver, amber quartz, cast under Champlain's shores, Temiskaming and Ville Marie. Our female Beauvenais spirits, wilderness, Miss Buffalo exiled, reproducing nil. We wild, trampling trilliums, frayed grass flowers align between province and providence. In our blood is iron from these plants that draw it out of soil. We are diagnosed with mineral deficiency. Our teeth and bones, once coral, now white, the ovaries turned to fluorite. This bus rides north. Pick-me-up trucks over endless roadway, wanting time travel. How do we need national largeness? Away city, crowded pavements drowning in sky haze, the horizontal of bus hum, bushwhacked road, rails without killdeer, a musical movement in window laps, pine and birch birth, crow bites, tree sprawl, straighter sun rays sting, looking through the cloud, a fever, touch sky, ridged granite, farmhouses abandoned in shadow and green seance, black water lake welcome, entering, my north on high. American Cliche. And taking the road yonder, without the tears of Hollywood or 1985, Thelma and Louise snuffed out, Inanna and sister dancing at the cliff, But there aren't any edges here, just dry dust and my underworld of underwear, the car's oil spilled, walking into the Nevada brown. No, red, not brown, earth. One jug left bearing the grace of without water, where rain doesn't know its tears. No one goes down together here for better or worse. Just ice, justice, melted, drained, disjointed, discombobulate, disembodied parts, wheels deflated, stationed in the hot horizon, just parts, mufflers, eroded metal, loose strings, the spit on the rock heat. Olson's America is just a complex of occasions. Hitch, ride, stop, a heated heart at the nearest Texaco station. I'll pick this up. Cadmium red. I tried to share it with you, how to take apart the toxic words, the red strokes that obliterate. But you'll never get it unless you come to see your red splatter as a habit in its ugly vastness, a canvas caught, distraught. How ferociousness must stay within the bounds of some aperture or design, however abstract on its blank canvas. This is part of the secret when working in cadmium red, knowing the first brush stroke, feeling out when to stop the color from overbearing the white space, knowing how much pigment is too much for one piece, how to ease out the measure between paint and brush with the grip of your fingers, same as the dip of a feather tip writing in blood. The object becomes subtle, sacred, and sleek. It was fun for a while, making bold red splotches and strokes of desire, the thick smell of oil perverse, till dried. I began to see the red tragedy reflected through your eyes, what had not been imbued, the lack of skill for containing such wanton passion, intricate pleasure. What is most required when releasing the awe of a cadmium romance.
There's a beautiful red painting right behind you too, pomegranate. This is perfect.
Pomegranate, yeah. There's a couple, there's another one too, yeah. So here's another one on the theme of painting. And this one actually was inspired by a particular painter, Patterson Ewan. Let's check here, make sure. Yeah, it's Patterson Ewan. The line, the actual phrase is, imagine his playful work assumes the exact shape of your longing, the artist constructing just enough skin between himself and the world. So this has to do with, just think of the Renaissance, imaginings. I could have announced to the world on this night what I've seen of you in the exact shape of my longing. The papers, the paint, the tool thrown and thrust about you, the centuries-old ink that stains your fingers, the garb of your tattered cloak, the messages you sing. But how to demonstrate? That's your task, though I'd like to mimic. How plain that would be. In the rooms we know, these storytelling lounges, there are angels that fall, come down, then linger with such precision to position. I couldn't have guessed without really seeing into kaleidoscopes, microscopes, the looking glasses that give us miniature imaginings to laugh at. The artist constructing, taking his earthen canvas to task on wings. I could say you found your below, the work of bellowing song from shoe to stone, all the libations to consider, such malleability, just enough skin for this world.